Media yawns when Iran threatens to kill an American president. As of January 3, Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi has warned that former US President Trump must face justice and get revenge in kind for ordering the execution of IRGC Quds Force commander Qasem Soleimani. In the mainstream media, however, it seems as though many sources are unconcerned that the world's largest terrorist sponsor calls for the assassination of an American president. Soleimani and another prominent terrorist, Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, were murdered in a US drone hit in Baghdad 2 years ago. Soleimani headed the IRGC Quds Force, which was in charge of Iran's training and support of US-designated terrorist groups including Hamas, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and Hezbollah, to name just a few examples. The Quds Force was also behind many of the IED attacks that killed and injured US and coalition troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Although tensions between Iran and the United States have been on the rise recently, Soleimani's visit to Iraq happened at this period. Soleimani was guilty of murdering Americans. Several media outlets and lawmakers went into a panic after Trump's death, warning that he had just initiated World War III. Although several attempts have been purportedly thwarted, Iran has yet to completely react. However, Tehran has not forgotten. For the second anniversary of the martyrdom of Soleimani, the government went all out. The most nationalist and pious person in Iran is how Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei described the terrorist leader's family after meeting with them. Doctrines stay and live, Raisi vowed, notwithstanding Raisi's warnings that Soleimani was more than simply a person to him. There is no stopping Iran. President Ali Khamenei made it obvious to the enthusiastic throng who chanted death to America and death to Israel. A fair trial for former President Trump, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and the rest of the criminals who ordered the drone attack will rise from the sleeve of the country, he predicted. Raisi went on to say that he was addressing all of America's leaders, including himself. Soleimani's killing has already been blamed on the present US government by Iran, which has already said this. As one CNN report put it, Trump posed a danger to the world's stability. The killing of Soleimani risks a spiral of bloodshed in the Middle East, according to another. Also, The Washington Post's quiet on Iran's warnings makes sense. There were more than a dozen editorials disapproving of the Trump administration's decision to strike in the week after the 2020 presidential election, and virtually all of them were written by conservatives. The United States has been pushed to the brink of a worldwide conflagration, writes Jennifer Rubin in The Washington Post on January 3, 2020. There is now a higher danger to Americans, according to her. But Rubin hasn't made a peep about Iran's threats to American government employees. Iran's threats were covered by certain major media publications, including Newsweek, The Hill, and US News and World Report. The fact remains, though, that they appear to be an anomaly, considering that the United States and Iran are now in Vienna discussing Iran's illicit nuclear weapons program. The media's deafening silence is all the more galling. Despite the threats, negotiations have proceeded. As a result of Saddam Hussein's attempt to kill George H.W. Bush when the former president was in Kuwait in April 1993, then President Clinton conducted a missile assault against Iraq in April 1993. Even after Iranian-backed militias launched missiles at US forces in Syria and Iraq on January 5, 2022, the nuclear discussions seem to be continuing. Tehran had threatened to assassinate our country's previous president and top diplomat at the time of the assaults, but the Post forgot to mention this. There should be no political affiliation while dealing with such dangers. Politicians and commentators alike, it seems, have a more flexible view of the importance of political norms and institutions.